returned from an executive session, and I believe we need to add an agenda item to the, is that the course to add in, Mr. Cates? We add an item to the agenda?
That is correct.
Okay, is there a motion to add an item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we add a business item 7C, the adoption of an ordinance establishing a 6-month moratorium on our certain developments in our 580 and 660 water zone.
Is there a second? Second. Motion, a second is add a business item to add a building moratorium on the 580 and 660 water zones. Is there further discussion of adding that business item? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. I'd like to speak to this proposed moratorium. The city commenced a water facilities plan update in 2017. As part of that update, we hired an expert water consultant, to do a thorough review of our water facilities plan and create an updated plan. During the course of this review, it has come to our attention of our water department that the city is overextended on water connections for the 580 and 660 water services zones. This issue is a combination of being short of reservoir or storage capacity, combined with a potential supply shortage and the need to upgrade Bremerton's Anderson Hill Station to ensure uninterrupted water supply. It is of paramount importance to the city that we provide for the public health and safety and welfare for the people of Port Orchard. Now that we are aware of this issue in the 580 and 660 zones, we need to work to find a solution. Our first step is to make sure that the water facilities problem is not exacerbated by continuing to allow new connections where we are already beyond our maximum capacity. Therefore, issuing a moratorium to pause all building permits which require new water connections is a necessary first step. The issuance of a moratorium will also give the city time to work through the water facilities plan update to determine how best to solve this problem. The city is committed to finding a solution to this problem and to ensure that the area will have water it needs for both household use and fire flow. But by putting the moratorium in place, we can continue to do so without added threat of additional connections making the problem worse. We will hold a public hearing for this moratorium on July 23rd, and we'll take public testimony about the moratorium at that time. Anyone wish to make a motion? Councilmember Diener?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 20-19, an ordinance of the City of Port Orchard, Washington, adopted pursuant to RCW 35A.63.220 and RCW 36.78.390, imposing a temporary 6-month moratorium on the acceptance of certain development in the 580 and 660 water zones, setting forth findings of fact in support of this moratorium, imposing the moratorium, stating the effect on vested rights, providing for exclusions, recognizing that a public hearing will be held within 60 days, authorizing interpretive authority, providing for severability, declaring an emergency, setting the duration, and establishing an immediate effective date.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Chang. And before we have further comment on this, I'm not confident that I read the statement of the executive session. I know I said we were going into a 30-minute executive session, but it was pursuant to RCW 40.30.100 in regards to potential litigation. So just want to be clear on that. So we have a motion and a second on the topic of a moratorium. Does anybody wish to make any comments? Councilmember Cacciardi?
Yeah, I mean, understanding the information that we just learned tonight, I think this is the only thing we can do to protect our city and its residents. But there are a lot of unanswered questions, and I would just ask that mayor and staff, our attorneys, that work diligently over the coming days to provide the policy board with the necessary data to help move this forward. So I appreciate that.
Other comments? Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
I think to echo some of the comments, in that was that we also have to take a look at a parallel path so we don't get ourselves in a situation again, to make sure our processes move further, so we don't fall behind again on this one, because this is a biggie.
Other comments? Councilmember Chang?
I commend the staff for very diligently and professionally bringing some really bad news to us in a very understandable manner, and I thank you for that.
Other comments? All right. With that, you'd be voting on a moratorium on the areas of our water system areas on the 580 and 660 service zones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, we are to our council committee reports. Finance Committee has not met, and maybe we could get together tonight with our calendars and figure out a meeting date.
Well, unfortunately, one of our members,
Is gone.
Is
You see.
gone, so-
We won't do that tonight. How about next week we get together
I
and
think
figure that
next
out?
week would be a good time to figure that out.
All right. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Wow. Economic Development and Tourism. Met on July 8th.
No, we're,
The meeting is going
We're
to
gonna
meet
meet
on
on July
July
8th.
8th.
No,
Yeah,
last
the-
year or
the
upcoming?
most recent meeting was canceled due to lack of agenda items, so I know they haven't met. Sorry about that. Utilities, did you meet?
Actually, we're going to be meeting in July. The June meeting is canceled,
Okay.
and we will be meeting July 15th, 9:30 a.m. here at City Hall.
All right. And Sewer Advisory Committee, have you met?
That's August 14th, 6:30, and that also will be at City Hall.
Okay. Land use, I don't believe you had your last meeting either.
We have, nothing to report. We're scheduled to meet July 1, 9:30 a.m. at DCD.
Okay. And lodging tax is still on hiatus?
on hiatus.
Okay. How about chimes and lights?
We're not meeting until August, so we have 2 months off. August 19th, 3:30 p.m. here at City Hall.
Okay, and on outside agency committees, I've got this one in my mayor's report, but I'm traveling over to PSRC's Transpol Committee in the morning on Thursday and making a pitch. They've got some funds that haven't been obligated. It'll be a very challenging proposal for us to get this money. We're into our contingency on the Tremont project. We'd like to recover that money. They've got unobligated money, and doesn't hurt to ask. So I'm going to make a trip over. I've got a growth management policy board in the afternoon. I'll go over in the morning too and make a pitch to that policy board to see if we can't get a piece of that pie that they've got over there. So, yes, sir.
Is this some of the pockets of money that Mark, you said you would be trying to get, or is this?
Yes, we've been
Okay.
working diligently on this, and it was at the RPEC committee meeting, which is, I don't know these acronyms. It was which is the engineers and staff at Puget Sound Regional Council. Now it's the Transportation Policy Group that it's advanced to. They were receptive at the staff level, but there's a policy in place that doesn't allow changes in conditions or cost overruns. So. To Transpol.
Yeah.
And I think we've got some valid, when we applied in 2016 for regional dollars, we scored well, but we were, I believe, tied for second with transit and for a project. Bainbridge Island got the money, and that was the bicycle path that they returned the money, and they didn't build. So that's my first ask, is that was Kitsap County's money that went back to the regional pot, and we think it should come back, or a portion of that should come back.
How much
And-
was that? Do you recall?
About a half, I believe it.
Yeah, 3 million, and we applied for 3 million in the regional, okay, so we applied for 8, but then additionally, we applied for 3 million at the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, and we took a haircut of $1.3 million. That happens to be the amount that we're asking for.
Okay.
So I think we've got a couple of valid reasons that they should make an exception because they have obligation deadlines to meet, and we have a need. So,
We wish you luck.
yes, and the project is going fabulously. I mean, we're done, we're paving next week. We've got landscaping and striping after that to complete. And we're very pleased with the job that Mark and the contractor's done. Moving on to, I think, the mayor's report, right? So a couple other things. I got the Office of Financial Management's population estimates for our growth for the last year. We are up 230 citizens, or 1.6% year over year. Our percentage growth was second to Paulsbo. They got 100 more citizens than us. Bremerton got considerably more people, but their percentage was only 1%. We are 14,390. 14,390. Sorry, yeah, you have to change a bunch of signs.
I believe that is a preliminary number. The final numbers don't come out until closer to the end of the month. So it
And I think you're
could change.
correct, that it did say it was a preliminary number. You're correct. I've been asked a number of times, and I've talked to Chief Wright about the fireworks ban that the county passed. I wish that if they were going to do something, they would have banned it altogether and not. They've banned things that can't be controlled, ground spinners, your mortars that shoot off all kinds of different directions. The challenge is that most of those fireworks are sold in the cities and not in the county. So they've banned the use of things that can be sold in the city. I've talked, the chief is monitoring the fire danger. We've got a warm streak here that could change the conditions, but he says we're not, in a position that we should be outright banning fireworks at this point, in his professional opinion. So we've been in communication. I think it's a little late in the game to, the county kind of sprung that on us, and all of the folks that have these fireworks stands have bought their inventory and is setting up their stands. So we would probably create a hardship if we did something similar to the county. Maybe we want to do that. Would that be a topic we would want to take up potentially for the future? But I think it'd be difficult to do something now. But
I don't disagree, and I think, we also have tribal sales that don't help as well. But I think if we're going to be trending towards these kinds of summers, and we have been, we need to have an earlier conversation with the county next year.
So we'll add that if you could add that to the staff report for tomorrow so that we can discuss that, when to plug that into a work study. I don't think it probably needs to happen towards tail end of the year. It's not pressing. I mean, this 4th of July is upon us. But I think we should, it's easier if we're, I guess it's easier to enforce if we have similar ordinances to our neighbors. So I talked a little bit about Tremont. We've been in discussions for scope on the maintenance of all that beautiful landscaping that we spent probably north of $1 million on. And we're going out to bid on the maintenance for that. And the scope, for the first 2 years, we believe it will take 6 workers 1 day a week to keep the weeds out of it. Once those plants get established, I think we can scale that back. And my best guess is that it's going to have an annual cost to $35,000 to $40,000 a year. But if we don't stay on top of those weeds until those plants are established, we'll be doing something similar to what Bremerton did on their Gateway project and ripping it all out because the weeds took it all over. So you'll probably see a contract coming before you in the next month or so, because we want to, as soon as we accept this project, we want to get employees out there working on it. I remember I'm at an AWC conference at the end of the month. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby knows that, and I've got a board meeting that I believe it's Tuesday at noon, so I'll be leaving late Monday night. Where else? That's it for the mayor's report. Department heads, Mr. Dorsey?
Yeah, so I want to clarify. So on federal projects, we don't have a 2-year maintenance bond because the process by which you have things built. They have inspectors. So that vehicle isn't in the contract that WashDOT provides. There is a 1-year warranty on the actual plants. So if plants die because of whatever, then the contractor they're gonna be responsible to replace the plants. But we've got to start right in with the maintenance, so, and I believe that's correct, isn't it, Mr. Pleasance? And so for Tremont, we were hoping that we were gonna be paving this week, 14th, 15th, and 16th, or 15th, 16th, 17th, whatever.
And the reader boards are still reading the old date. You
Yeah.
wanna
No,
read
the
ACI.
one I saw in Gorse today, it moved it to the 17th, which is Monday, so,
Might have been
when I
moved.
came through.
Okay, late today?
Yeah, so due to that rainstorm we had Friday, that goose grounder that affected the contractor that's doing our paving, which is Tucci, they're doing work up in Paulsbo, so it pushed them back. So we're, based on the forecast, we're paving Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and as we've discussed, that's a complete closure of the interchange on Monday night, and then Tuesday, it's what's currently here in our traffic, and then Wednesday, it's gonna be paving like the westbound lanes, flipping over, paving the eastbound lanes, and, switching traffic, so. And those are all going between 7 PM and 5 AM. And so it's like pulling off a Band-Aid, we're just gonna get it done rather than messing around. And we got the groundbreaking, or the ribbon cutting Friday.
Friday, 2:30?
Park.
Rockwell Park?
Yeah. And then the last piece is tonight's Thomas's. So it's kind of with really sadness, but it's also with pride because, I've seen Thomas completely grow professionally here at the city. This is his last meeting that he'll be able to attend because starting Monday, he'll be the Public Works Director in Port Angeles, so.
We're gonna need his new address, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, I wish Thomas luck and hope he breaks his leg walking out the door.
Mr. Crocker?
Well, I had nothing, but now I will wish Thomas good luck in his new adventures, and please do not break your leg walking out the door.
And I talked to HR today, and his potential replacements, the job is closing Wednesday, and we've got a handful of good candidates, it appears, so we'll be, Thomas will be sorely missed. I'm confident that we're gonna hire a quality replacement. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, my only announcement tonight has to do with the work on Vision 2050 over at PSRC. Some of you may have heard or seen communications on this. The population allocation, if you remember, we're planning for 1.8 million people coming to the region, and a portion of that is coming to Kitsap County, and then a portion of that will be allocated to Port Orchard. We expressed a preference for one of the 3 alternatives in the environmental impact statement written by PSRC. That appears to be the preferred alternative going forward. However, we have learned that Kitsap's portion of the regional pie is smaller than in the last iteration, and that's because we haven't been growing as fast as we were supposed to have over the last 10 years. And so what that has done is taken, in the Vision 2040, we had 9% of the region's growth that we were required to plan for. We only achieved 4% growth. In Vision 2050, PSRC has suggested that we need to reduce the allocation to Kitsap from 9 to 5% and hope that we can catch up and grow faster than we have been growing, but significantly less than we had planned for previously. This, of course, presents problems because if you remember, we shrunk our urban growth boundaries this last go-around with our comprehensive plans, and if the growth allocations on a countywide level are reduced, we potentially are oversupplied for land. So the planning directors got together to talk as a county this last week. We did send a letter at the last minute to get it to the PSRC before the board meeting in June, and so there are some ongoing discussions about how Kitsap can be treated, and we've made a proposal to basically look at Port Orchard and its UGA together as one number rather than treating the UGA as a separate area for allocating growth. And so if any of you are interested in a copy of that letter, I'll just send you a copy of the letter that was sent. Councilmember Ashby signed it on behalf of the city while the mayor was out of town last week, and we basically had about a day to agree as directors, write the letter and get it over to PSRC. But you may want to follow along with what's going on and stay tuned for more information, because this is really where a lot of the mandates for our next comp plan update are going to be coming out of, and the numbers that are coming out appear to be not impossible to accommodate, but they have some challenges. So more to come on that, and we can certainly take that up at a work study once we hear more from PSRC.
And that's why I'm having an additional Growth Management Policy Board meeting this Thursday. Is we had a meeting last week. We were asked to delay the decisions about these allocations to next week. And since then, the planning directors have been working very hard to come to an agreement that all of the cities and the county can agree upon, versus the county having, the county had, previous to that, had a very different position than the cities did. And so now, based on this letter that was signed by, all jurisdictions, we're in agreement as how that pie will be divided up. So, Ms. Cates?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything from the clerk's office, Ms. Floyd?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. Mr.
Yeah,
Clausen?
I have one thing, just, I guess, for the good of the order, and it's just more of a heads up for the council. Kitsap Transit is going to be refurbishing the Annapolis Ferry Dock to make that dock ADA accessible, and as part of that project, that dock will be coming out of commission for a period of time. I don't know exactly how long yet, but what we're anticipating at that point is to increase the frequency of sailings out of downtown Port Orchard and put in some bus service to bring folks from Annapolis to connect with the additional sailings out of downtown. So it's just kind of a early heads up. There'll be more detail to come as we flesh out the details.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, we're going to go to our next citizen comment period. Is there anything else from citizens? Okay, I know it was a longer than expected meeting, but with that, our meeting is adjourned.